The other day, the stocks went down 2,000 points, and they said that was the most in the history of the stock market. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they broke their own record today. The stock market fell more than 2,100 points today, and the Fed stepped in to try to do like a stimulus, but it did not help at all. It just continued to drop. I have this audio that I want you to hear from NPR.
We are watching stocks continue to melt down this morning. This is all amid rising concerns about the coronavirus. In fact, the drop was so big today that trading was called to a halt briefly. The S&P 500 index plunged by 7%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also fell deeper into bear market territory. Investors are worried about the spread of COVID-19 and the economic cost of trying to contain the pandemic. We've got NPR's chief economics correspondent Scott Horsley with us to help us sort through the consequences of all this. Scott, the market opened a little under an hour ago. What have we seen?
Well, stocks plunged right at the opening bell. The S&P 500 hit that 7% down threshold almost immediately. And just as happened on Monday, that triggered a 15-minute halt to trading. That's designed to sort of give traders and investors a little chance to catch their breath, think about what they're doing. Trading has since restarted. The S&P, as of this moment, is down a little more than 7%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is off about 8.5%. Of course, just yesterday, the Dow crossed into bear market territory, ending a bull run that had lasted for 11 years.
So let's talk about what President Trump has been saying. Last night, he gave this address from the Oval Office. Let's listen to a clip and we'll talk on the other side.
I will soon be taking emergency action, which is unprecedented, to provide financial relief. This will be targeted for workers who are ill, quarantined, or caring for others due to coronavirus.
And I want to get to the financial relief that the president is proposing, but first, we need to note a few different things because the president made several errors in that announcement. He said all travel from Europe was being cut off. That's not accurate. American citizens, permanent residents, other groups are exempted, and it doesn't apply to all European countries. The vice president, Mike Pence, was on CNN this morning claiming that the president's remarks were not confusing, but we saw the acting head of the Department of Homeland Security, Ken Cuccinelli, have to come out and tweet a correction about that limited ban. So the White House having to do some backtracking. As far as that financial help, what did the president call for?
Well, it was fairly short on specifics, and that's maybe one reason the market is behaving the way it is. They perhaps wanted to see something a little bit stronger and a little bit more refined from the administration. What the president is calling for is some kind of emergency action to help workers who don't have sick leave and who are forced to stay home, either because they get sick or because their business is quarantined or because they're caring for someone else who might be ill. Now, the president didn't say how this would work, but the idea is to make up for people's lost pay so they don't feel pressure to go to work sick and possibly spread the virus. The president also said he would be asking Congress for some kind of help to extend this aid. The administration is also talking about having the Small Business Administration offer low-cost loans to businesses that are affected by the coronavirus outbreak, just as they would do in a different sort of natural disaster. And once again, the White House is asking Congress to provide more funding so those small business loans can be bigger. The request for sort of $50 billion in funding. The president also suggested that the April 15th tax deadline might be pushed back to buy some more time for people who've been affected by the outbreak and also keep a lot of extra money just floating around the economy to sort of grease the wheels of commerce a little bit. And then he repeated his call for a payroll tax cut. That's kind of been the signature way that the president has talked about propping up the economy against this outbreak, but there's very little appetite for that in Congress.
Scott, I forgot to mention one other error the president made. He said initially in his address that goods would be affected, that this was going to affect trade. And then he had to tweet out a correction hurriedly to assure the markets that the limited travel ban with Europe was not going to affect trade. I mean, clearly the administration is trying to shore up the economy, trying to reassure the markets. It's not working.
Right, and this just sort of illustrates a little bit the haste and the not quite ready for prime time nature of this response so far. Europeans say they got no warning about this travel ban for countries that are being affected, continental Europe, and so that's obviously been jarring. And there's also some question of the value of this sort of Fortress America approach to what is now a global pandemic. Already, we had more than 600 new cases of coronavirus reported in the U.S. yesterday, so it may be that the value of trying to put up these travel bans is limited. But you're right. The president added the confusion. I think he perhaps just strayed a little bit from the teleprompter or misread the scripted remarks. And so there was some confusion about whether cargo trade would be affected, and it's not going to be.
NPR Chief Economics Correspondent Scott Horsley, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard that. As of yesterday, there were 600 new cases of the coronavirus. Now, I know what Trump is trying to do, but money is not going to resolve a virus that you have no cure for. It's not going to matter if people are too afraid to go out in crowds, to be out in the general public. They have a deep fear right now that's in the country, and Trump is just not able to ease that fear at all, and this is rough. This is a rough thing going on right now in the country, and they think money is the answer to this thing. Money is not the answer to the coronavirus. And I was listening to some of the people in the medical field, and they said even if you got a vaccine, it would be 18 months before they would be able to roll a vaccine out. And there's no guarantee the vaccine is going to do anything. Look, you got a flu vaccine, and people still get the flu every year. And if they don't get the correct viral, flu that is coming out for that season, even if you got the shot, it's going to be ineffective. That's what happened, if you remember, back in 2018. I think the flu shot was like 21% effective because they got the flu strain wrong that year. So there were people that got the shot and still died. So with this thing mutating over and over and over, 18 months from now, it's going to be a whole different virus from what it is today. I was looking at articles on Italy. Their cases jumped up 30% since they've been on lockdown. Right now, them being in lockdown is not even doing any good. So it is a tough situation. I got another one out of Canada. The prime minister is self-isolating himself and may have coronavirus. So the leader of Canada have the coronavirus. So I'll be putting that story out a little later on. Y'all can be on the lookout for it. But this thing is no joke. It's no joke. And to be honest with you, if you go and listen to Trump when he did his statement yesterday, he had the sniffles. And I read he was around some man from Brazil, and the man tested positive, and Trump and Pence were shaking hands with this person. And y'all remember the senator that was on Air Force One with Trump that had the coronavirus, not Ted Cruz, but the other guy. I can't think of his name right now. So anyway, he's been exposed probably to several people with the coronavirus. That's the problem with politicians. Their job depends on being around crowds, being around their constituents, always being on the go. They're always meeting with people. So I don't see how many of them can avoid it. They have halted so many things over the last 24 hours. It's not even funny. But ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think. This has been a treacherous day on Wall Street, and there's going to be many more ahead. I was watching a news clip yesterday online, and they were boasting about how the bull market has been good for 11 straight years. Well, so much for all that boasting. Look at where you are now. And Some of them are still trying to say there won't be a recession. Some are saying it will. This is going to be a recession, y'all. How do you lose trillions and trillions of dollars every day and there's not going to be a recession? Now, this little stimulus, it's good for the moment. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, this country is still going to be fighting through a virus. You know, Angela Merkel just gave it to her people straight. Trump won't do it. He won't. She told her people 2/3 of Germany will have the coronavirus, 70% of the country. But Trump is still, he doesn't want to say how bad this thing is going to get. And in my opinion, that makes things worse. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.